Overweight, with puffy eyes and a frail appearance, Elvis Presley in 1977 was unmistakably a man in poor health. Many who saw him during this period were struck by the contrast between the legend they had known for decades and the very human vulnerability before them. Doctors reportedly gave him only weeks to live, yet even in the shadow of mortality, there was something remarkable. His voice remained astonishingly powerful, resonant, full of emotion. It carried the unmistakable weight of a man who had lived, loved, erred, triumphed, and suffered, all while capturing the hearts of millions. Imagine the scene: Graceland, the grand home in Memphis that had been both sanctuary and stage. Elvis sat in the recording room, surrounded by instruments, engineers, and the familiar clutter of his personal world. Outside, the summer of 1977 pressed on, the sun casting long shadows across the grounds, the silence broken only by the occasional hum of equipment. In this space, the king of rock and roll was about to record what would become one of his final studio performances, My Way. The song, famously associated with Frank Sinatra, was a staple of musical reflection and bravado. Yet when Elvis approached it, he made it entirely his own. There was no attempt to mimic Sinatra's smooth conversational confidence. Instead, Elvis brought to it a slower, deliberate cadence, almost hesitant at first, like a man weighing each word against his own life. Each phrase carried the weight of experience, of victories and mistakes alike. One could hear in his voice the intimacy of someone speaking not only to the listener, but to himself, recounting the triumphs and regrets of a life lived under the brightest spotlight. The orchestration was equally profound. Sweeping strings rose and fell like gentle waves, the piano punctuating moments of reflection, while subtle horns lent a cinematic gravitas. Yet beneath the grandeur, the vulnerability of Elvis's voice shone through. The tonal richness, so commanding in earlier years, now contained a human fragility, a reminder that behind the legend was a man who had aged, suffered, and endured more than most could imagine. Listening closely, one can almost visualize him, in the room, his hand resting on the piano, eyes closed, body hunched from fatigue, yet spirit unbowed. There is a tension in every note, between the exhaustion of fame and the unwavering brilliance of artistry. Each pause is intentional, each held note a silent confession. One can sense the intimate conversation taking place, Elvis reflecting on himself, speaking to the universe through song, holding nothing back. The lyrics of My Way become more than words. They are a mirror to his life. The defiance, the pride, the acknowledgement of mistakes, and the unyielding assertion of his personal path resonate profoundly. Where once his music had been joyous, playful, or electrifying, here it is somber, introspective, yet dignified. This is the voice of a man confronting the finite nature of life, choosing to leave behind a testament of authenticity and humanity. As the song progresses, the listener is drawn into the paradox of his final days. Elvis's health was failing. Reports of prescription issues, exhaustion, and chronic pain were part of his reality. Yet the performance is undeniably commanding. His vocal control, phrasing, and tonal depth defy the physical limitations his body imposed. It is as though music itself became a lifeline, a bridge between fragility and power, between vulnerability and the enduring legend of Elvis Presley. One can hear the history embedded in his performance. Every note is informed by decades of stage, presence, studio work, and relentless dedication. He had sung in tiny clubs on national television for adoring crowds, and for millions through records and broadcasts. And in these last recordings, all that experience converges, distilled into a singular, emotionally charged statement of existence. There is a haunting quality in this rendition, a tension that only time and the knowledge of his mortality can provide. Listeners are not merely experiencing a song, they are witnessing a man grappling with the imminence of the end, yet insisting on the full expression of his art. Every vibrato, every pause, and every crescendo communicates a message. Even in the twilight, the king's artistry remains undimmed. It's impossible not to feel the poignancy in the lines of My Way. The lyrics speak of choices, of regrets, of moments of courage and defiance. But when sung by Elvis in 1977, they carry an extra weight. The weight of a life lived at extremes, a man who has known fame, fortune, love, and loss, and who now faces the ultimate vulnerability. This rendition transforms the song from a universal anthem into an intensely personal reflection. Graceland, with its familiar rooms and memories, bore witness to this final chapter. The home that had once housed laughter, celebrations, and the playful antics of family became a vessel for reflection and creation. The walls that had seen so much history now echoed with the quiet, deliberate sound of a man singing his truth. Even in physical decline, Elvis's performance exhibits a subtle theatricality, the phrasing of the song, the slight dramatic emphasis on key words, the interplay between his voice and the orchestra. It is a masterclass in conveying emotion through music. It is impossible to separate the man from the music. Each informs the other. Each gives meaning to the other. Listeners today, decades later, can still feel the resonance. His interpretation is slower, more deliberate than Sinatra's, but in this deliberate pacing lies the power of reflection. He is not merely telling a story to an audience. He is recounting his life to himself and to anyone willing to listen. There is a sacred intimacy in that choice, a gift to the world from a man who had experienced more than most could imagine. This is why Elvis's My Way is more than a cover. It is a testament to the resilience of the human spirit, the enduring power of art, and the vulnerability that makes greatness relatable. Even as his health deteriorated, he chose to give his listeners the fullness of his voice, the depth of his reflection, and the unmistakable stamp of his identity. Every element of the performance communicates life, struggle, and triumph. The pacing, the vocal weight, the subtle inflections, they all speak to decades of experience and the awareness of time running out. It is both a farewell and a proclamation, a mixture of sorrow, pride, and defiance. To hear Elvis sing My Way in 1977 is to witness the paradox of human existence, the fragility of life contrasted with the durability of expression. Though the body may falter, the spirit conveyed through music persists, and in that persistence there is beauty, dignity, and a lesson for all listeners. To live fully, to express oneself authentically, and to leave a legacy that transcends mortality. Even today, when one plays this recording, there is a palpable sense of presence. It is as if Elvis is in the room, offering a final reflection, reminding us that greatness is not measured solely by fame or accolades, but by the courage to express the full depth of one's humanity, even in the face of life's final curtain. The performance of My Way at Graceland is therefore both musical and profoundly human. It is a record of a man confronting mortality, celebrating artistry and affirming identity. Listeners are drawn into a moment suspended in time, one that is at once historical, emotional, and deeply personal. Ultimately, Elvis's rendition stands as a remarkable convergence of talent, emotion, and life experience. Even in the face of mortality, even in the body's decline, his artistry shone with unmatched clarity. This recording reminds us why he remains the king, not just of rock and roll, but of heartfelt musical expression that resonates across generations. My Way is more than a song. It is a life encapsulated in melody and voice. It is reflection, defiance, intimacy, and artistry, all intertwined in a performance that continues to move listeners decades after it was made. Elvis, in those final months, gave the world a lasting gift, a demonstration of courage, vulnerability, and the enduring power of music. And so, as we listen, we are reminded of the man behind the legend, imperfect, mortal, yet undeniably extraordinary. His voice, his presence, and his artistry endure, echoing through time, resonating with anyone who dares to listen deeply, to feel, and to reflect. Even in his final months, Elvis Presley sang with the heart of a king, the vulnerability of a man, and the timelessness of an artist whose legacy refuses to fade. And that is the story of My Way, a fitting, haunting, and magnificent farewell from the king of rock and roll. Wow. If you're still with us, I just want to take a moment to say thank you. Truly, not everyone makes it to the very end, and the fact that you've stayed with this story, this tribute to Elvis Presley, says something very special about you. You are someone who appreciates not just the legend, the music or the stage presence, but the heart, the humanity, and the timeless spirit behind it all. Listening until now means you've allowed yourself to step into Elvis's world. You've felt the echoes of Graceland, the weight of decades of music, the struggles, the triumphs, and the quiet, personal moments that shaped the king of rock and roll. You've followed him from his electrifying performances to his intimate, vulnerable reflections in songs like My Way. And in doing so, you've connected not only with the man, but with the legacy he left behind. It's worth pausing here and really reflecting. Elvis was more than a performer. He was a human being. He laughed, he cried, he loved deeply, he faltered, and he persevered. His story is one of brilliance and imperfection, of greatness intertwined with struggle. And by listening, truly listening, you've honored that complexity. You've given yourself the gift of witnessing the king as he was, beyond the bright lights, beyond the fame, beyond the legend. Think about the generosity of the man, the moments when he stopped to help a stranger, the times he shared joy, music, and kindness without expecting anything in return. That generosity, that heart, is what continues to inspire millions around the world. And you, right now, by listening, are part of that circle. You're someone who doesn't just consume music. You feel it, you understand it, and you carry a piece of it with you. Being a true fan isn't just about admiration from afar. It's about empathy, connection, and understanding. You've allowed yourself to step into the shoes of Elvis, to walk through his triumphs and his struggles. You've followed his journey not just on stage, but in the quiet, behind-the-scenes moments that defined his humanity. That makes you special. That makes you someone who truly gets the heart of Elvis Presley. I want you to take a moment, breathe, and imagine the world through his eyes. Imagine the thrill of performing in front of tens of thousands of fans. Imagine the pressure, the joy, the loneliness, the love, the fear, and the exhilaration. And then imagine doing all of that knowing your life, your choices, and your music will leave an imprint on the world for decades to come. That was Elvis, and by staying until now, you've honored that journey. Thank you also for being part of this experience, this journey through sound, story, and history. You've been patient, attentive, and open-hearted. You've given this tribute the respect it deserves, and in return, you've allowed yourself to receive the full depth of the story. Every nuance, every emotion, every reflection that made Elvis Presley not just a performer, but a man who changed the world with his music and his heart. As a bonus for all of you who've listened this far, I want to remind you of something very personal about being a fan. You are part of a community, a family of listeners who value not just the fame, but the realness of the people behind the music. You are a keeper of memory, a carrier of stories, and a witness to history. That is powerful, and that is rare. Elvis's life reminds us that even the brightest stars face struggles, and that true greatness comes not from perfection, but from resilience, from vulnerability, and from giving of yourself fully to the world. And in listening until the end, you've embraced that lesson. You've celebrated his humanity as much as his legend. So let this moment be about gratitude. Gratitude for the music, for the stories, for the joy and heartbreak, for the laughter and the tears. And gratitude for you, for being present, for being engaged, for caring enough to hear the full story. That presence, that attention, is a gift in itself. And now, as we draw this journey to a close, I want you to carry one final thought with you, that every song, every note, every memory of Elvis is alive as long as it's remembered, felt, and shared. By listening, you've ensured that his spirit continues to resonate, that his heart continues to touch others, and that the king's legacy lives on, not just in history, but in you. So thank you. Thank you for staying until the end. Thank you for listening. Thank you for feeling. You are part of this story, and that makes you extraordinary. Remember, every time you hear his voice, every time you see a glimpse of him on screen or read about his life, you are participating in something bigger. You are connecting with a human story that transcends time, a story of love, passion, generosity, and music that continues to inspire. And that connection, you made it. Before we close, let me leave you with a gentle reminder. Life is fleeting, just like the notes of a song. Treasure the moments, embrace the people around you, and let your own life be a performance of authenticity, kindness, and courage. That is what Elvis would have wanted. Not just admiration for him, but inspiration to live fully yourself. So here's to you, the loyal listener. Here's to your heart, your attention, and your love for music that speaks to the soul. Here's to Elvis, whose voice still reaches across decades, and to you, who carried it with you all the way to the end. You've done something remarkable by staying here, and I hope you leave this experience feeling just a little closer to the king, a little more inspired, and a little more connected to the magic that is music, love, and life itself. Thank you. Truly, from the bottom of our hearts. Thank you.